Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long boys blues, 1975. YouTubers on the rise, reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long boys blues, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Nonboys Post 1975 and welcome to my Wednesday vlog. I believe this is number 11, it'll be in the title, the descriptive term. Basically, this is a topic that in the last week, well 2 weeks or so, I've been asked this question by quite a lot of people on Facebook in my personal message box and quite a lot of people in personal messages on YouTube. But I would say if you're on Facebook, the place to message me with a question is there, because I still find using the inbox, you know, the redesigned inbox on YouTube just a clusterfuck of clunkiness and unintuitiveness. Anyway. The question is, and I'm probably late to the party answering this, and it's an odd question because there's obvious reasons why it would never happen, but I'm going to give my personal thoughts before I get into that on why I wouldn't want it to happen, which is, do you think game companies, third party and, you know, first party, should stop making games for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 or the previous generation and start, or just entirely focus on the current generation? One of the main arguments I've heard is, which I still think is a flawed argument, just saying my thoughts, my opinions, you know, which is why I'm asking you yours on this topic, which is by not making games or developing cross-platform games, we're holding back or hindering, you know, the potential of these new systems, and restricting the sheer number of games that will come out. But that's kind of a catch-22 in the sense that the number of games coming out is being restricted by the fact that people are still playing, you know, previous generations. Well, isn't the case that you could argue that the reason people haven't jumped to, this is the catch-22 I'm talking about, to these new generations because of the sheer, you know, restricted nature of games? I don't know. Right, my thoughts on it are this, my personal thoughts, and why I don't think they should stop, you know, cancelling it, and should you know, cancel games on the previous systems to just concentrate on the new ones, which again, this is, you know, rhetorical in the sense that I know this is not how the market works, nor would it happen, which is why I find it so funny that this question is asked quite a lot, or has been of me. Should they? You know, do they? Would they? Does it hold it back? All I know is, from my personal perspective, I myself, I'm not in a financial place right now where I can jump to the new systems. I've always said I would never go over and that I was perfectly happy with my Wii U, which I am. But, you know, I've also said never say never. And I think, like the majority of people, because we are still the majority, those of us who adhere to these previous generations, to the new ones, despite how popular they are, the majority of people, we wait for like 1, 2, 3 maybe price cuts. I didn't go to the Xbox 360 until, you know, 2009. I was well late to that party. But yeah, ultimately I'm not financially in a place to do this, because I've heard one of the arguments is just people just buy it, just get on the new generation. No, I got bills, I got, you know, responsibilities, I got my car, you know, I got food, I got, you know, shit like that. It's not as easy as to say I'm just going to buy the new system. And you know, so why should I, as a gamer, because I'm not, you know, in a financial position to be able to go to these new systems, be essentially punished and not be able to still enjoy a perfectly valid and capable console? Yeah, the Xbox 360, that's my one of choice. It's getting a bit creaky. You know, it's 10 years old, which in itself is amazing. But, you know, what, because I can't afford one? You know, for the simple fact that the minority seems to think that those of us who aren't jumping forward are restricting their games, which I don't kind of get that argument. As I said, no, I just don't buy it. The thing is, right, and if you look at every previous generation, you know, skip over a company going to a new one, they've always allowed this transitional period, because if you just cut off that transitional period, you're going to piss off the people who essentially will want to buy your new console. You know, scorn your loyal customers and they remember, or at least I do. But you have to have a transitional period because people will always wait, and maybe that does restrict the number of games coming out, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, I don't think it does. I just think that's people finding their way, and every console ever that's been released has always had, you know, like a trickle of games it first. But no, I basically think that you have to have this transitional period. I mean, and also from from a profit making perspective, which is why it would never ever happen. All right, some companies have cut off their systems quicker than others. I mean, look at the Xbox, the original Xbox. Can't say Xbox One anymore. That annoys me. But then swings and roundabouts. Look how long or loyal Microsoft has been with the Xbox 360. I'm sure that, like, maybe 2 to 3 years production will cease on these. You know, 1 or 2 may come out sports titles and franchises like that, bankable things, maybe a couple more CODs and shit like that. But why would you, take something that's got, and this is the point I want to make, and we touched upon it in I Got Gameplay, which is why would you take something like the Xbox 360 that has so many units sold and still has a viable, loyal, strength in the market, and just say, nope, not do that anymore, cut my nose off to spite my face. Think of the income, the profit, the money they would lose, and the PlayStation 3, it's, why would you do that? This is, I mean, look how long the PlayStation 2 ran. For God's sake, it was still a viable console way into, the early couple of years of the PlayStation 3. So it's simply not going to happen. You're simply not going to basically ignore this potential market and just go, right, everyone go over to these new systems because this is where it's at. This is what we want to develop. If you do this and support us, and then we can give you all the games we want. Because the bottom line is also customers don't like to have their hands forced. If you force me or make me feel like I'm being bullied to go over to a new system, you're just gonna piss me off. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna make me resentful and possibly, put my allegiance with another company I wouldn't have ever thought about before. I mean, as I said, it's an interesting question in the sense, and that's why I'm asking it, which is, it would never happen. You would never ever, cut off your previous fan base. I mean, you could argue that, well, then that's why they give backward compatibility on systems, to kind of throw a handout to the people who have the previous system. You don't get that on the new ones. So I certainly don't think they're going to be cutting them off anytime soon, not just because of the sheer profit they will lose, but because there is no backward compatibility. So, do you know what I mean? You can't have this crossover point that we've had on previous systems, more so on, like the Wii, which isn't even in this equation, and kind of more on the Xbox 360, even though it was emulation in the sense that the original model on the PlayStation 3 that had PlayStation 2 backward compatibility seemed to get kind of, sorry, windy pops. It didn't get windy pops. Well, maybe that's why the chipset kept running out, but that just seemed to kind of drift off into obscurity, and the models just changed and ignored that fashion. I don't know. I personally think, ignoring the fact that why would you do this from a financial perspective, it makes no sense whatsoever. But I personally think that no, you can't just stop like that. It's, life isn't that simple from a marketing and business perspective or standpoint, that you can't just say, right, that's it, jobs are good on everyone, these systems are done, never mind the fact that you built up this massive collection, we're going to cut it off from day one, and then you go over, because they're just not going to have the market base that they would have. And plus, crossover platform games, I don't see that hinders games as such, because they're such linear titles, Call of Duty and stuff like that, if you see what I mean, which is, how much different would that be if they weren't cross-programmed on different platforms? Are you saying that if there was no Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 version of, Advanced Warfare or Ghosts, that, and like in the Battlefield games, that the ones on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One would be absolutely far superior to what they are now? I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Plus also, maybe, and I have played a PlayStation 4 and I have played an Xbox One. Maybe not as much as Sony owned them. I've played them around with mates, but do you honestly think that they're that far ahead of the current generation in how a game's going to look? I don't see it. Again, maybe because I don't own one, I don't see it. So personally, ignoring the financial perspective as well, I don't think they should just pull the rug out from the current generation and just concentrate on the new one. I don't think it's holding back the development of games. Early days to working with new systems will always be its initial holdback anyway, and that's got nothing to do with the fact that there are previous systems still being coded for, if that makes sense. But anyway, as always, I would love to know what you think. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.